When I told the internet I sold my DR650, there was some opinions thrown my way. I have learned nothing. Now, to quickly recap why I sold the DR650, the simple reason is I wanted a more dedicated off-road trail riding bike. Get your finger off that comment button. Yes, I know the DR650 can do anything and everything, and looking at other bikes is like committing adultery in the eyes of the Lord. But alas, here I am, sitting on a new bike. I think the main question I had for myself was, would I regret selling my DR650? If you watched my last upload, you'll see I went to Mexico to make a video about rally racing. Well, there was another reason I went to Mexico, other than sweet, glorious sponge. A friend of a friend's 500 EXE got stuck in Mexico after the great 2-week lockdown.
You know, we had planned, we said we're going to take my underwear off, it's, you know, stale and old, and let's change it out, and let's do this and that. And, you know, when I met up with the guys, I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I'm just hitting the gas. Let's get after this. You know?
That is Darren Rideout. That was filmed right after he completed the Ironman Baja 1000, an absolutely insane 45.5 hour-long race. So if that is his idea of a good time, it's safe to say that this bike probably isn't considered a trailer queen. Well, what a perfect way to test KTM's reliability. A Baja bike with 11,000 kilometers on it. So I bought it, and I brought it back to Canada. I was registered for a dual sport event in Northern Alberta shortly after I would get back, so I had to financially incentivize a nice motorcycle shop that really liked the numbers 8 and 1 to inspect the bike as fast as possible and get it street legal. At this point, I had still never ridden the bike, not at all prepared for a 3-day riding event, a huge mix of on and off-road, single track, and high-speed sections. This would be the ultimate way to test out my new bike. The event is called the Boreal Royale, and it's held in Northern Alberta, Canada, in the Boreal forests. Go figure. It's an awesome mix of terrain up here, from deep, hilly, single track to forest riding. And if you don't want to be in the trees, there are endless sand rows stretching to the north. The event spans 3 days and attracts all levels of rider and machine. We had everything from 450s to KLRs and 990 adventure bikes. There were single track adventure routes for the smaller bikes to explore and wide open dual track stuff for the big bikes. So when they asked me if I wanted to come ride and film, I jumped at the opportunity. What better way to test out my new bike and see if I made a terrible decision selling the DR650? The first day of the Boreal Royale was slick. Up here they get this super slicky, sticky mud that sticks itself to everything. It feels more like riding on wet snow than mud. Riding through this drunk driving simulator is trickier than it looks. It made me so thankful the 500 EXE is only around 250 pounds. Even though I was getting thrown all over the place, it never felt top heavy or hard to keep from falling all the way over.
Tell me, Brett. We're about halfway through the bad conditions.
Cool. And then the worst conditions.
And then it gets more fun.
Look at this. My God. I do want to discuss the golden elephant in the room. KTM's price tag. Brand new KTMs are expensive, very expensive. Comparing a brand new KTM500 EXE to a brand new DR650 would be stupid. But that's not what I'm doing. My DR was used and this KTM is used, but compared to the 500s, the DR650 can hold their value extremely well. For reference sake, my DR was a 2011 with around 12,000 kilometers on it when I sold it. The 500 EXE is a 2013 with 11,000 kilometers on it. I paid about $200 more for the KTM than I sold my DR for. Yes, I got a good deal because I drove 5,000 kilometers to get the bike, but I have seen other good deals on 500s not too far off what I paid. I think the biggest reason is KTM's technology progression. They are constantly advancing their tech and performance metrics, even if it's stuff nobody wants. So my bike is essentially 3 generations old tech. Think about it like cell phone. KTM is already planning out their iPhone 16, and Suzuki made the indestructible brick of a phone that is the Nokia 3310 over 23 years ago and figured,
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Don't think that I'm putting the DR down just because it doesn't change every 36 months. There's great value in that. The parts are easy to find, they're cheap, they're everywhere. There's over 20 years of them. The used DR650s all kind of float in that same price range because they're all just the same bike regardless if it's a 2021 or a 2001. On the contrary, good deals can be had on a 10-year-old KTM because it's
always want to get
old
that
tech.
shot of everybody leaving. Then you got to pack up your drone, put it all away, and yeah, you end up about 5 minutes behind everyone all the time. This is my first day on the 500. I bought this bike about a month and a half ago, and I've just had no time to get it street legal, and because we've had such bad forest fires where I live, all the off-road riding has been shut right down, so I've been sitting in my garage and just been staring at it. It's kind of a little surreal to actually be on it, riding it. My first impressions are, it is so fun. There's just infinite power. Compared to what I'm used to riding, it's so light. Like, whoa. I gotta focus here for 1 sec, hold on. This is gross. Okay. Oh. Yeah, it's so easy to ride. On the highway, it really doesn't feel much different than my DR650. Vibrates. It's a thumper. Except I have 6 speeds and an extra like 15-20 horsepower. Minus 100 pounds. I haven't ridden in any high winds yet. That could be interesting. I don't know, you think about the DR650 and all the complaints that most people have are outdated suspension, the brakes aren't as good as they could be, could use a little more power, a 6th gear could be good, fuel injection, I mean, it kind of does all those things.
Now that I've had my 500 for about 6 months, I will say it does vibrate more than my DR did. The KTM does not have a cush drive like the DR does. This alone makes a lot more vibrations through the bike. Some people who use it more like a lightweight ADV bike will put a cush drive hub in. The other big downside with these high performance singles is maintenance. This is going to be a pretty heated subject. But as per manual, KTM says to change the oil every 500 miles and check the valves every other time. Which is if you're using this bike for its intended purpose, like my friends when they race Nora, they are changing the oil at those intervals or sooner.
What way is he saying to go?
I have no idea.
He's waving both sides.
I'm looking like right along that ground.
That's what I'm thinking. Want me to try it first?
Yeah.
With that being said, there are people using 500s as lightweight ADV bikes and pushing those oil changes to 2,000 miles and sending them to oil labs to check, and they're coming back healthy. And I see people saying they're checking their valves 3 times a year-ish, and they're generally always within spec. The suspension feels so planted. It instills so much more confidence in my riding. I remember riding the DR on gravel, and at higher speeds it did not feel anywhere near this confident. The chassis let you feel what's going on so much better, and you can maneuver the bike so much easier with way less input on your feet and bars. I am running the same Dunlop D606 I ran on my DR650, so the grip comparison should be relative. The first day was a big one. We did over 13 hours of riding and covered 600 kilometers. By the end, I was excited to get off the bike and go directly to bed. I could not have asked for a better way to get to know my new bike. Day 2 was set to be a more relaxed schedule. We got to eat an entire pig. We went golfing in our riding gear. I still don't understand how golf works. And we started off our riding day with some drills to get us warmed up for the day. The riding section of this day was split into 2 groups. I could go ride with the adventure bike guys, or go ride single track with the off-road focus people. At that time, I could count how many times I've been actual trail riding on one hand. So I was very rusty and slightly nervous if I could keep up with everyone.
You can go that way if you want. It's got a steep descent, and then there's a hard left at the bottom. Okay. It's your call.
At the time, I could count how many times I've been actual trail riding on one hand. So I was very rusty and slightly nervous if I could even keep up. If I was still riding on the DR650, I probably would have went with the adventure bike guys and kind of taken it easy. But with this bike, I felt like I had the right machine, so I opted to go ride single track. I still need an infinite amount of practice, but it didn't feel like it was a battle against the bike all day. The bike was keen to do it, and by the end of the day, I was feeling more and more confident in riding stuff I didn't think I would be able to.
Thank you.
We ended that day with a tour down the river on a V8 jet boat. A first for me and an absolute blast. Day 3 was all about sand. This area has sand forever, as far as you can see. And sometimes I like to give my GoPro to people that can actually ride a bike. These guys have their bikes set up just for sand, paddle tires and all.
To our regular scheduled program.
This entire weekend has been an awesome learning experience for me in riding in loose terrain. The sand was no exception. It's tricky with sand because the safest way to ride sand is faster. But when you're not used to riding fast in the sand, it feels kind of scary because the whole bike is just kind of moving all over the place. But when you eventually get the feel for it, the trick is to relax, or you're going to wear yourself out in trying to hold onto the bike for dear life. Unfortunately, had to cut my time on the bike down on this day because the night before my baby was in the hospital and I got no sleep, which resulted in the worst target fixation I've ever experienced. My brain was telling me a crash was inevitable.
I got no mental focus. I'm gonna ditch this and hop in a side by side with. But I was up on my emergence with the baby.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. I can't focus.
I have to admit, I felt pretty lame ditching out on an awesome day of riding in a unique place, but looking back, I think I chose right, especially after talking to the owner of the side-by-side.
That's what I did last year up here, and like I just f***ing kept pushing.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to get up there to f***ing camp, eh?
Yeah.
Just kept pushing, and then I f***ing blink.
On your bike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucked 4 ribs, so.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that was some nice confirmation I made the right choice. I wasn't the only one who had to change their plans for the day. Mike's 450 that had just finished the Nora 1000 had suffered an engine failure. We were a significant distance on the sand, and regular vehicles are prohibited in the summer, meaning the only way we could get the 450 out was on the roof of the side-by-side, resulting in one of the strangest sights I have ever seen. As the other bikes made their way back home, and I sat in the side-by-side with a KTM on my roof, I couldn't help but wonder if I had made the right choice buying a 10-year-old KTM that spent his life riding in Baja. Just kidding. In fact, the bike has been perfectly reliable, aside from one clutch master that I had to replace. And judging by the amount of Mexico I smuggled back in there, I think it's safe to assume sand was the culprit. And I haven't exactly been easy on the bike. I ride it a lot harder than I've ever ridden any of my bike, even my beloved Scoot Scoot. I don't think I can throw anything at it that it's not built to handle. Now, to answer the original question of do I regret selling the DR650? Honestly, the quick answer is no. But I have so much love for the DR650. If it wasn't for the DR650 and how approachable it was for off-road riding, I wouldn't have ventured off-road on a motorcycle at all. I wouldn't have gone on off-road events where I met so many amazing people. I wouldn't be on this bike. In fact, I probably wouldn't have even started this channel. That bike will always have a special place in my heart, but I don't know if I will ever end up on another one. Never say never, but there's a lot of bikes out there and I want to try as many of them as I can get my grubby little hands on. These videos take me a lot of time, so if you can subscribe, comment, leave a like, it goes a long way in getting me through these countless hours of editing. And if there is a bike you'd like to see on this channel, let me know, and I will try to track one down and make a video. Okay, love you, goodbye.